Hello and welcome back to another box frame diorama. But before we get stuck in this week, I would just like to say a huge thank you to the new subscribers that my channel's had. You may laugh and think that it's not a lot, but when I first started putting my craft projects on YouTube, I genuinely thought no one would be interested. So every time I receive just one new subscription, it really does make my day and put a smile on my face. And I'm glad that you're coming along with me on this journey. Who knows where it's going to take us? But if you are new here, my name's Rain, this is Make Do and Trend, and this week I'm bringing a Neon City box frame to life. Let's get into it. So I've had this box frame diorama in my head for some time, and I also had these neon lights, which I thought would look absolutely amazing. We will come back to the struggle I had with these a bit later on, and if I'm honest, if I have to use these again in a craft project, it will be way too soon. But listen, this me in the video right now was unbeknownst to all that drama. So the initial problem I had to start with was where I was going to box everything. Obviously, being a box frame, these are going to go on a wall. They need to have a flat back, and I needed to hide all that battery pack in the front. I know this seems to be going a bit quick here, but if I'm honest with you, this is my crafting style. I can be a bit chaotic at times. I was literally just putting bits of card together, little bits of wooden parts that I had, just really playing around with trying to build this city up, and then trying to figure out how and where I was going to put these neon lights to get the best effects, to get the best color combinations. There was quite a bit to consider. So I put those aside for a moment, and we're working on a shop front here. I was just playing around, figuring out if certain bits of cut off balsa wood that I had would fit in, to see if it would work, what wouldn't work. I've added some little plastic bits here, and also some stirrer sticks, wooden stirrer sticks going down some of the buildings. These will come in really handy later on when we're using those neon strip lights. I've also put some mesh there to create I guess at first I was going for a window look. It didn't quite work out. I ended up putting mirrors behind those, but the reflectiveness worked brilliantly. So again, let's turn all those dramas into positives. So when I was satisfied with where my buildings were going to go, I had to take them all apart like a puzzle piece and paint everything black. This project was always going to be about the neon lights and the signs, so the buildings really just acted as a placement for those. So here you can see I've gone and printed out some signs I've liked. I found them online. A few of them I had to reverse the negativity in the image so that the black became the white and the white became the black. And then I just simply printed those on some acetate paper that works with a normal inkjet printer. Once I'd done that, I've got some stirrers and I made some boxes using simply just PVA glue. Just use a little bit of PVA glue, that's all it needs, and be patient. Put them aside, let them dry, and come back to them once you've finished another part of the project. This idea I'm definitely going to be using again. I will try using it in some other different ways that I've got in my head. But in order to make these black, instead of getting anything messy with black paint, I simply went round with a Sharpie and coloured in the edges to create the blackness. Now, I did fumble a little bit about how I was going to create the colours within the lights. What I end up doing is actually putting tracing paper inside the lights and then colouring the tracing paper the colour I want the light to be. But we will come back to that. Let's move on to these little shops. Now, one of the things I did struggle with this project was that it had to go in certain orders. I had to get these lower levels with the shops and have the lights put in them before I could continue with the rest of the project. So there was a lot of me standing back for 5 minutes thinking, oh damn, which bit goes in next, or which bit do I need to do next? So I knew I wanted a takeaway Chinese shop, one of my favourite takeaways, and here I've just found some paper that I thought would kind of look like Chinese wallpaper you might see in a Chinese takeaway, and I'm simply painting the shelves red. Now, this project is so tiny that I've had to use miniature beads. I had nothing glass that would work here for jars of, I don't know, spices or whatnot, so I simply used rubber tubing, and that was a quick image of a noodle menu that I made AI print out, which I thought was brilliant. And yeah, so the model even has its own menu in there if you want to look close enough. Here I've simply used some beads. You can see the tubing there that I filled with smaller beads to act like, I don't know, spices, I guess, or little interesting things in here. like I've said before, when I create these dioramas, I love it when people look at them and then they come back and say, I didn't notice that before, or you find something new to look at when you look around the corner. And now let's move on to what's going to be my pawn shop. No, not that kind. Although initially, at this point in the video, I still didn't really know what it was going to be. I just knew I wanted a shop front. When I say that I wing it with some of these craft projects, I really do. I have like this vision in my brain or an idea in my head, and I just got to try and bring that to life. But sometimes you've just got to work with what you got rather than what's just inside your noggin. Anyway, here's me putting this shop together. Again, I needed to figure out where bits were going to fit, the backing parts for it, and also about lights which were going to go in and how those lights would be connected. I initially, like I said, wasn't too sure what this shop was going to be. Once I looked at the collection of things that I had, it's just me putting in some shelves. Again, PVA glue works a treat. Just leave it on there, and as you see me put these on, I then will put this to side to dry for a good, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And when the glue's gone clear, I know I'm ready to go in with what I use felt tips to colour these shelves blue. But when I was looking at the parts to fill this shop, oh, there we go. I just got a few bits together. I really love this retro gun. I really did. But once I lined it up with the Chinese takeaway, I realized that the retro gun was like absolutely huge and it was losing perspective a bit. So I just went in with some, I guess, random objects. I don't know what they can be. Jars of things, a big crystal in the middle there, maybe some bowling balls at the bottom. Who knows? Right, this was my oxygen tank. I figured that futuristic cities would be full of smog and pollution, and they would need some form of oxygen tank pumped around. This really was just my excuse to squeeze a little bit of greenery into a project that I was worried was going to look too dark. I had fun building this little room. This is actually a pencil sharpener. You see that glass bend there? I used an old pencil sharpener that someone was going to throw away. The pencil sharpener stopped working. And I thought, do you know, that would make a brilliant window. It's been sat in my plastic box for quite some time now. And all of that sort of like mossy, drippy bit, simply just used some glass paints on that and let it dry. And I chucked some of my green bits in there just to create that oxygen room. Now let's get back to these lights. Some of you may have already spotted that I've made a little sacrifice. Yes, there are less lights than there were when I initially started. These lights gave me no end of a headache. And as you can see here, I truly am not happy with them. I know we've literally just jumped from them all hanging out the project to me putting them in. When I say that these lights caused me headache, I am not lying to you. I couldn't get them to move in the shape that I wanted to. I couldn't get them to sit flush to the buildings the way I wanted to. So much so that that pink light in the middle, I ended up just having to thread that through some of that plastic netting that I'd used. And that's initially why I put those mirrors behind to give it a bit more of a reflection. So yeah, go ahead, try these lights if you can. But if I'm honest with you, I really struggled. I may have been doing it wrong, who knows? But yeah, we got there in the end, and I think it was a part success, but I would be very reluctant to use them in the future. Now here I am just chucking some of that grass, mystery green grass substance that we still don't know the name of, down onto the floor. It's not there for the greenery. I simply wanted to create a tarmac texture, and this stuff is brilliant for all types of things like that. This will go down, be dried, and painted grey. I've also added some straws and bits like that, piping, some interesting bits at the back, some ladder looking parts. This is really just to add a bit of depth and sort of give it a sense that there is a lot more going on in this city, if you like. Now, as you can see, we've got those strip lightings in, but we still haven't started putting in our neon signs yet, which are going to be the main focal point of this project. And here we are, back with that tracing paper inside. Now, I simply put the tracing paper down and I simply colour in the parts that I want to be those colours. This was a trial and error process, and there was a lot more error than trial, but we got there, and I figured that this way was the easiest way for most people to be able to do this or replicate this in some style. And of course, you don't have to go as big as I have done here. You can make this on a smaller scale, but these little mini neon lights I really did enjoy making, and I think any crafter out there, definitely give it a go, especially if you enjoy crafting with LEDs. These are a great little addition to any project. Now, of course, I've just gone around this project, painting it black, and I've also added a little bit of bronze in there. This was through embossing powder, which I simply put on with a little bit of glue and then used a heat tool to bring out that coppery look. As it turns out, I weren't too keen on it, and most of it gets covered once those neon signs start going in. So this is really down to you and how you want your project to look. I've put a little pawn sign there with the 3 gold balls. That was simply made out of 3 cocktail sticks and 3 beads. Unfortunately, I didn't take any pictures, probably because I was pulling my hair out over these neon rope lights. Anyway, as you can see, I've started to get some of those signs in here. I was playing around. The signs here I've attached with little beads, and the lights, you can see some of the strings here still attaching these fairy lights. I go ahead later on and cover a lot of these with old plastic straws, little bits of plastic I got lying around. Now, if you live in Britain, I know getting hold of plastic straws is a somewhat controversial subject, but we had a few left over. Let's save them from going into landfills and use them in cool craft projects like this. Now, can you see these little boxes I've done on the top here? These are to hide the battery packs for the flashy lights for all of the neon signs that are going in and around. Okay, and I know that it perhaps I've made this project look a lot messier than it needs to be. I've added a few beads, a few extra bits of piping, and all those wires are still there and they are still visible. But paint this black, there we go, and most of that has gone away. But I still do have one confession to make. After I ended this project, can you see the signs? Can you see how messy I am with my painting? Oh my goodness, guys, I was not happy with the way that these signs were looking. I had spent so much time getting them in. They were messy, they had paint over them. They just weren't giving me that crisp, nice, shiny neon sign look that I wanted. So we had no other options. We had to go back again. I printed off another sheet of these signs on acetate, and this time I simply had to cut them out. I pulled away the old signs and stuck them on with PVA glue. Here I'm making just a little bit of a grate for the front of the pawn shop. It dawned on me that all those precious things behind that supposed pawn shop window would be easily robbed without a grate in front of it. Now, can you see on these signs? Look how much cleaner they look. Look how much brighter they shine. I did use 2 separate lights for sets for the signs. So they run off of 2 separate battery packs, and then obviously the neon ropes run off their own battery pack, which is putting all at the back and the switches on the side. So there you have it. My craft gremlins have been cooking up this neon city landscape for quite a while. I wanted to try making these neon signs, and like I said, it was more of an experiment for me, and I'm sure I will use these again in the future. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, why don't you just go on and give me one of those little thumbs up? Every one of those little thumbs up really does help my channel grow, and at the very least puts a smile on my face. And if you have enjoyed watching me make this box frame diorama, why don't you hit that subscription button, and then hopefully you'll be able to catch me next week with another mad creation. And once again, I have been Rain, you have been fabulous, and I hope to see you next week. Bye bye.